In today's Starfield build guide, I'm covering the Mad Scientist, an explorer and science-based playstyle. This is the perfect build for the unconventional player who wants to focus on exploring, research, and building a beautiful base. Hey everyone, I'm that one guy for never. Welcome to part 5 of my starter build series. First, I need to go over some important changes that will affect all my build guides going forward. I now have access to a lot more information and have experienced a ton more in the game. So going forward, I will be including what legendary perks and mods you want on your gear, useful chems, and some gameplay mechanics you may or may not be aware of. For the sake of keeping this as spoiler-free as possible, that last bit I've included near the end of the video. I will very visibly warn you when it's time to skip over this section if you wish to. And don't worry, I have full intentions of going back and updating all the rest of my build guides just as soon as I finish the series. Without further ado, let's jump in. In Starfield, there's so much beauty in the cosmos. There's exotic moons and planets to explore with stunning landscapes and resources to discover. They said exploration is a lost art. You didn't listen. As the major factions argued over the space they desperately tried to control, you were busy uncovering the wonders of the settled systems. The Mad Scientist is an unorthodox playstyle focused more on exploration, discovery, and research rather than fighting. You're the kind of person who won't be happy until you've uncovered every secret the cosmos has to offer. You're not much of a people person, the opposite really. Sick of modern living and the bustling crowds of the metropolis, you've largely left it all behind for a more exotic lifestyle and field research. That's not to say you're unwilling to have companions, just the opposite in fact. You simply prefer the cold logic of robots. Field research is a very physical task after all, and someone needs to carry all those resources. You're an explorer at heart. You're most happy scanning celestial bodies and jetpacking around planetside surveying the local resources. There's discoveries to be made everywhere, and you're a master at knowing where to look and how to make use of what you find. To say you're proficient in the science category would be a vast understatement. You literally have mastery over nearly every science skill known to man: medicine, research, outpost management, botany, geology, zoology, astrophysics, and engineering. You're not completely oblivious to the way the world works though. You'll need plenty of money to fund your expeditions and research. With such advanced skills in surveying, you have the ability to sell profitable survey data to your connection, Vladimir at the Eye, a space station orbiting Jemison. You'll also be swimming in inorganic and organic resources that you can sell for a tidy profit at the numerous vendors throughout the game. What's especially nice about this build is that you can make lots of money doing what you love very quickly without much investment in your skill tree. In fact, you have access to pretty much every tool you'll need right at level 1. That's because the basics of surveying and building an outpost are not gated behind any skill. We mostly increase our efficiency and what our options are with some quality of life skills that enhance the experience. That said, we will need some weaponry and armor to enhance the experience further and aid in combat. One of the first things you should do is acquire the heavy weapon, the cutter. You'll acquire this in your first mission. This thing will be your bread and butter tool for harvesting inorganic materials while out surveying. Early on, this can be a very viable weapon as well, made even more convenient by the fact that it has infinite ammo. Try to acquire a pistol as soon as possible. You'll likely pick up a couple basic ballistic ones early on without much effort, but for some better choices, it can be well worth your time to head over to Aquila City and visit the vendors Roland Arms or Loretto Firearms. Especially early on, I suggest picking up 2 different types of pistols that use different ammo. That way you're far less likely to run out in the middle of combat. Your heavy damage dealer, I really suggest a Magnum, denoted by the 43 caliber Ultra Mag round. Later, 45 caliber or 7.5mm type pistols are viable alternatives. Save these for elite enemies or those especially bulky targets like robots. But then you want something with more plentiful ammo for the weaker enemies, the 27 caliber rounds, or if you prefer a machine pistol style, 6.5mm. It's worth keeping in mind laser and particle beam pistols are another viable choice, but will require a slight shift in your skill investments. We'll touch on that soon. For pistol mods, there's a lot of viable choices here that depend on what you want your pistol to do. If hip firing is your preference, you'll want a compensator. A large drum or drum magazine can help you have more rounds in the chamber, since you will be missing more shots with that playstyle. If you prefer to aim down your sights, go with a bull barrel, large muzzle brake, and tactical grip if that's available. Many pistols have the option to go fully automatic or binary on the receiver. This is a personal choice, but I found the binary to be a great step up in DPS without wasting too many rounds. It's a balancing act for sure. Pistols also have the capability of drastically altering the rounds fired to white hot, explosive, uranium, or armor penetrating. I don't have enough data at this point to pick one type over the other. We just don't know how much armor pen ignores, for example. But traditionally, you want to go with the option that increases base damage and weapon value the most. For your spacesuit, you're looking for options with high resistances in thermal, corrosive, airborne, and radiation, as these are the afflictions you'll frequently be exposed to while exploring some of the more extreme planets. For your mods, as this is an explorer-based playstyle that's not too heavily focused on combat, my recommendations are going to be for utility boosting effects and quality of life improvements. The Skip Capacity Boost Pack is a great choice to speed up surface exploration. Pocketed and Extra Capacity is another great choice, as you will be carrying heaps of resources all the time. Regeneration is an excellent quality of life improvement to keep your health topped off, and Hazard Protection to boost our resistances even further. Now I want to clarify perks and how they work. When you defeat an elite enemy, that's one with multiple health bars, they will drop a higher rarity item than normal enemies. You also have a chance of finding these randomly when scavenging loot. Blue indicates rare and has 1 perk. Purple is epic and will have 2 perks, and the highest tier is legendary, indicated by the yellow color, and will have 3 perks. Keep in mind that as awesome as perks can be, they shouldn't be the only factor in determining the value of a piece of equipment. As you level up, you can find higher level gear that have better stats. For weapons, your base damage is one of the most important things to consider. For armor, your armor values and resistances are what are most important. This is why it's important to periodically be swapping out your gear as you level up. On pistols, instigating is extremely good on high caliber weapons like magnums. This will double the damage on targets with full health. This can essentially let you one-shot or two-shot many enemies once our build is stacked. For our lighter hitting pistol, elemental or poison is a fitting perk. The former will randomly deal corrosive, radiation, poison, and incendiary damage to your target. Poison does the same with poison damage, but it also slows the target. Both felt very thematically correct for our mad scientists and have the added benefit of being very effective. On your spacesuit, increases in our carry weight, resistances, and reduction in oxygen consumption are going to be the most useful. For carry weight, this is called mechanized. Resistances are called liquid cooled, galvanized, and antiseptic, respectively. And the last is O2 filter, which reduces our oxygen consumption by 25%, allowing us to run for significantly longer stretches. Chems are extremely powerful in Starfield, and you'll be using them a lot. The mad scientists will be exploring lots of extreme planets and will therefore be exposed to a lot of status ailments. You want to keep a good supply of status healing medicines on hand: antibiotics, bandages, heal paste, and immobilizer. As you progress through research, you will develop more potent forms of these medications that combine all of their healing effects into one. For some utility, it can be nice to have pick-me-up on hand to increase your carrying capacity, as well as Synapse Alpha to reduce the resource cost of research projects. Jumping into the build, here's a look at the completed skill tree. For your convenience, I have a link to this build in the video description below. Starting out, unlike every other class, this one isn't going to lean very much into combat. I'd take a point early in Boost Pack to help you get around. You'll be investing as many ranks as you can into science, that's geology, medicine, research, surveying, botany, scanning, and zoology. Now, take a second point in Boost Pack training to help us get around even faster while exploring. But of course, the universe is a dangerous place, so we need some means of defending ourselves. The scientist has proficiency in pistols, wellness, environmentalist, and gastronomy for survivability. As we enter the mid-game, we spread our skills out into social, picking up all 4 ranks of scavenging and gastronomy for even more survivability. This lets us pick up a very interesting perk called instigation. With our scientific prowess, we've developed an ability to cause NPCs to fight for us temporarily. I think of this as sort of a mad scientist control device or drug. Why fight when we can have others win our battles for us? This is a good point in the game to invest in some tech skills. Boost pack training ranks 3 and 4 so that we can get around even faster. We throw the rest of our remaining levels in science, first starting with some new skills: astrophysics, planetary habitation, and special projects. And the last 5 spread into geology, research, surveying, botany, and zoology. Once we hit the later phase of the game, we can afford to bump up our combat proficiency by maxing pistols and taking particle beam weapons. Particle beams being a whole new weapon type for us. At this point, it's important to keep in mind that if you prefer using laser pistols, you'll instead want to max that skill instead of taking particle beams. Something I really like is that your skills, pistol and laser, or pistol and particle beam, will stack if you choose to use a pistol denoted as that specific energy type. This is a great way to really ramp up your damage. We now focus on fleshing out our abilities a little more: weapon and spacesuit engineering, chemistry, outpost engineering, payloads, robotics, and boost assault training. This will vastly enhance all of our capabilities. For the last leg of our journey, we focus on mastering all of our pre-existing skills in whatever order you feel is most useful to you. Now don't forget, I have the completed build linked below for you to reference if you're unsure what your options are. Choosing your background, there's a few good options. From a skill standpoint, combat medic and homesteader make a lot of sense. But to fit our backstory better, I personally like explorer as it really lines up with the lore of our character. Rounding out that backstory, I had some fun with the traits on this character. We have dream home and kid stuff. Our scientist really wants to get away from people, so I thought it would be pretty funny for her to actually be rich and have a doting family. This adds some intrigue and comedic backstory to our character. I also opted to go with terra firma, which increases our health and oxygen when we're on the surface. We'll be spending a lot of time planet-side scanning and surveying resources, so this trait makes a lot of sense. In this last section, I'll be covering an advanced combat mechanic that some players may not be aware of. You won't have access to this until a little ways into the main story. If you don't wish to be spoiled, please feel free to skip ahead. After completing a few of the main story missions, you will arrive at a temple where you'll gain access to your first power. Powers are special abilities that greatly enhance and modulate your combat potential. There are also some utility powers that can enhance other features of the game, such as persuasion and harvesting resources. Our explorer will be more focused on the latter. Of the 24 available powers, the ones that really stand out for our playstyle are Elemental Pull and Eternal Harvest. Elemental Pull will automatically harvest inorganic materials in a radius around you. These are things like metals and minerals. Eternal Harvest regrows harvested flora in a large area around you. Combined, these two will dramatically increase the speed at which you harvest resources, thereby speeding up the time that it takes to survey a celestial body. I also really like sense star stuff and precognition for this character. I think of precognition as sort of a tracker's ability, the ability to read the trail, detect the movements of living things, and even have an acute perception of people's moods based on their composure and facial expressions. In game terms, precognition lets you see where a living thing will move to, their actions, and even what they'll say in a conversation. It can be pretty handy in some niche situations. Since Star Stuff has similar applications as precognition. This is like the detect life from Elder Scrolls. Living beings are highlighted in a very wide circumference around you. You can even see them through the landscape or walls. It's a very handy tool to avoid danger or position yourself in a tactically advantageous position to take your enemies out as efficiently as possible. Worth honorable mention, alien reanimation. This lets you reanimate the corpse of an alien to temporarily fight for you, which feels very mad scientist-esque. And that's it for this build. The Mad Scientist is definitely a unique playstyle that's going to appeal more heavily towards players who'd rather explore. As always, don't be afraid to tweak the build to fit your playstyle better. If you'd rather use lasers than pistols, then switch the skill points around to reflect that. Would you like to be able to control aliens? Then invest some skills into xenosociology. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up, and if you found any cool weapons, playstyles, or even have any of your own builds, please share in the comments below. In my next video, I'll be covering the Beast Tyrant. Until then, see you all next time.